Hi. So, everyone is talking about quiet quitting, including apparently me, since I'm here doing this video. And here's the thing, I really hate the term for two reasons. First reason, it's vague. It's being used to refer to at least four different things, four different situations, and I'll go into them in a second. Second reason, in every case, it points the finger at the individual employee, but generally speaking, in at least most of the four situations, if not all of them, it's really not the employee's fault or responsibility. Not entirely in any event. So, okay, before I go into the four situations it's being used for, let me introduce myself. I'm Grace Judson. I'm a leadership geek, and my work is all about creating good managers and developing them into good leaders, and then onward into a full-fledged pipeline, a plan for a pipeline for leadership development all the way up to succession planning. Because having a strong leadership pipeline in any organization starts with the first line manager. And as I say all the time, let's create those good managers instead of having to fix bad leaders. So that's me. You can learn more about my work in planning coherent end-to-end management and leadership development programs and in supporting the first line manager by clicking any of the links in the video description below. So onward then to the four situations that are all being lumped under this thing called quiet quitting. First, as I said in a LinkedIn post recently, and I'll put the link to that in the video description below as well, it's purely and simply setting appropriate boundaries around work time and work effort. It's refusing to yield to the pressures of overwork and hustle culture and choosing instead to prioritize one's own well-being and availability for other activities outside of work. In fact, according to news reports I saw recently, this was the original intent of the person who coined the term. Now, I'm going to include the link down below, but just be aware that that article is behind a paywall. That's really annoying for me, so I didn't want you to be surprised by it. Okay, second situation. A lot of people are saying that this is a sign of employee disengagement. We know from Gallup surveys over the years that disengagement is a real problem. But I think it's a mistake to just completely equate all instances of quiet quitting with disengagement. The employee who practices quiet quitting may be disengaged, but they may also just be setting those boundaries that I described a minute ago. Third thing, others are saying that if someone doesn't like their job, they should just really quit and find something else. But I don't think quiet quitting necessarily means someone doesn't like their job. As you keep hearing me say, it's more about doing the job within appropriate boundaries around work time and effort. Finally, the fourth thing that I think is being lumped in here, there are those who wonder if this is a form of actual protest against hustle culture and overwork. There's a term from the days when unions were far more common called work to rule, which is basically the same as quiet quitting, just in more formal language. Work to rule meant that one did exactly what the rule was. In other words, exactly what your job description says, no more and no less. Sounds like quiet quitting to me, and obviously this is closely related to my first point about setting boundaries, only in this case it's a form of protest to management about the problems, again, related to hustle culture, overwork, and burnout. I said earlier that generally speaking, the problem doesn't lie with the individual employee doing the quiet quitting, even though, as I also said, I am not a fan of how the term points the fingers at the employee and makes it their responsibility and their problem. There's a systemic thing going on here. We wouldn't even have the term if companies were doing their best to create humane working environments in which their employees felt comfortable not working all that overtime, not putting in all that extra effort, not needing to go above and beyond all the time. Look, I'm well aware that there are times when extra effort is required. There are times when a crucial deadline must be met or when a crisis happens and people need to rally around and respond to it. But that's not all day, every day, all week, all year, and got to do all that in order to get promoted and so on. So rather than blame the employee, let's look at the systemic issues that are causing the perception that if one works within the boundaries of reasonable work time and effort, one is guilty of some form of quitting. And I'm here to have that conversation, whether you're an employee who's participating in the quiet quitting movement, or you're an executive who wants to explore how to improve the management and leadership development process in your company in order to create that humane and productive workplace where quiet quitting isn't necessary for any reason. Just leave a comment below and I'll get back to you, or you can follow any of the links to my resources and services information below in that video description. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click the notifications bell to be reminded when I post a new video. Go forth and help create a world where quiet quitting isn't even a thing, okay? Okay, take care.